Lisa here. We've got Mary.
All right.
Let's see if we can get this pushed live. There we go. Mary. Nice. Awesome. Well, happy Friday, everybody. Welcome to Lyrical Lessons for Life. I'm Kelsey Miles, a musician based out of Madison.
Lisa here. We've got Mary.
That's coming from my microphone. From Madison, Wisconsin. And here we have Joanne Adducci. Joanne, would you like to?
Here we go.
Nice. I'm just giggling at
Well,
this.
happy Friday, everybody. Welcome to Lyrical Lessons for Life.
I am
Let's redo that.
Let's seriously redo that. So I've been on mute. Was that me?
I don't know, but it stopped.
Okay,
All
good.
right.
So
welcome. Happy Friday, everyone. My name is Kelsey Miles, a musician based out of Madison, Wisconsin. You're here for Lyrical Lessons for Life. We're talking about how to find your courage and keep going. And we also have the beautiful and lovely Joanne Adducci.
You're so funny, Kelsey. I love it. Hi, everybody. We're so excited to be here. I am Joanne. I am a dot connector, life coach, mind shift mentor, whatever you would like to call me on any given day. So we are talking about courage today. And actually, the song that we chose to bring this topic to bear with is Proud Mary. And, a shout out to my sister, Mary Schisler, who has joined us, I think every week now. This is episode 10. How fun is that?
How fun. And I heard from you, Joanne, that it is her birthday.
Happy
birthday, Mary.
Yes, it is. And so fun that, we're talking about a song that really underlies having courage to continue to move forward. And, watching my sister navigate things in the last few years, it has been a very courageous journey for her. And it just all made sense. So Kelsey, thank you for doing the cover of this song and the way that you sing the song and the soulful sounds that you bring. It's so much fun. So yeah, shout out.
It is a fun song. And the funniest part about this song is recording it was during a time when we needed to keep rolling. So it rained at my show on Thursday in Sun Prairie, Wisconsin. And then we thank you, Joanne, for coming out to film it. And then it was so funny because I even tripped the circuit breakers that were outside. I mean, we weren't even sure if music was going to keep going on. But and those that showed up, thank you for dancing. We had so much fun. That was really great. And it was great to have this topic today talking about having the courage and finding the courage to keep going, and then to have that happen while filming the video for this week's topic was kind of hilarious.
It absolutely was. And I mean, even those that stuck with us and braved kind of the weird weather, but we had a rainbow. We had a rainbow. You were a little wet and had to dry things off, and then we kept going and people were there and it was fun. So yeah, I just appreciate the way that you bring it's just the way that you bring the fun to the music. So hopefully people have watched that recording and watched you sing that song, because it's really fun. It does get you, wanting to get up and dance.
It does, and that's what life's really about. And that's why I do what I do. So let's dive into some of this idea about having courage in the first place. And I really love these Fridays where we all get together and we talk about these things, because it's really fun to push our brains in order to think about these topics and relate them to what's going on in our current lives. And for me, when I started thinking about find the courage to keep going, something that came up to me, and this is bigger picture, not fundamentals about the word courage or about keep going. It's the fact that there have been times in my life where I've been courageous and I've kept going. And it's not necessarily that I've forgotten how to find the courage. It's just a different situation that I need to find the same courage that I've had before. Right. And so I find that it does repeat throughout our lives. For me, it has. And something that this week I've really been thinking about is that even though my situation is different, I do have the ability to find the courage. It's just a different situation.
Yeah. Well, and courage is like a muscle. So it's using that muscle in a different way. And it's the same idea of when you may work out and you lift weights with muscles, but then all of a sudden you go chop a tree down and the next day you're like, did I ever use those muscles before? You'd use them differently. So courage is just like a muscle. It needs to be trained, and it needs to be a consistent effort in stepping out of your comfort zone, to use that courage.
I
Yeah.
love that. And that would make it easier to find, I guess.
Yeah.
If you use it often.
Yes, it could. Absolutely. Because we get used to the idea of taking the risk that is wrapped into whatever we're trying to be courageous around, taking the risk of doing something different and stepping outside of the comfort zone that we are so comfortable in, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So when we approach, that was one of the main things that started coming up for me, is that it's something that continues to happen, and I'm continually having to push myself to make sure that I find that courage that I know I've had before. So
Right.
part of me gets frustrated where I'm like, where the hell did it go? I've had it before. And as we keep going, then sometimes I'm like, oh, well, that's not there right now. So I had to go find it.
Yeah. Well, and you know what, though? It's a matter of really, what are you visualizing the outcome to be too?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe when you look to the past and see, hey, I had courage and this was my outcome and it was really, really great, that'll encourage you, no real pun intended there, but it'll encourage you to take the steps again because, hey, the outcome was really good. But let's say you took, the chance, took the risk, got courageous, and the outcome wasn't really what you wanted to be. That can also weigh on how you step into the next thing and have the courage to move forward again. So, it's a matter of what that previous outcome is that you're comparing it to as well.
That's a very good point. That's a very good point.
Yeah.
Very good point.
I'm curious. Go ahead.
No, I was just looking at the lyrics and thought we could dive into some of those. And I am curious what other people are thinking about with this idea of finding the courage. And my main question is this something that you felt too, where you have to repeat that search? And you're right, it does get easier as you keep doing it. Like, it is a muscle, but I find that it happens again and again.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, and are we stepping into, bigger things? So it's a little scarier than it was before. I remember the first time I went zip lining, and I'm afraid of heights. I've never really liked heights. And I got up to the top of the platform and I cried my eyes out. I bawled my eyes out. And I was all harnessed up and I literally had to get pushed off. And my tears turned to joy and laughter at the moment of like, what was I afraid of? This is not so bad. And oh my gosh, this is so beautiful. And then we got to the next ramp and we were going to go again. And I was terrified all over again. Even though I just had a really fun experience, my tears turned to laughter. And then all of a sudden I froze again. So I think it's, it's that whole, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to step off. What does that look like? Trust. There's a lot of trust that goes into being courageous.
Yeah. I think what also helps me is when I relate being courageous to things that are have become more mundane or like a small hurdle to me, and they used to not be a small hurdle. And so I like to remind myself of times when it felt like I needed a lot of courage in order to do something. So when I first became a musician and I was starting to play shows, to think that someone would pay me to entertain at their venue was this humongous, like, whoa, that would be the coolest thing ever. Like, I didn't even know that was an option. I was just doing it for fun. And then that started happening. And then like now I'm at a place now where, I don't get nervous as much like for shows, not when I very first started. And then on top of that, like finding shows, and I've made so many connections and networked, and I'm not like begging for shows right now. In fact, my schedule gets filled up pretty quickly, and I'm saying no so I can maintain some balance in my life. And it's funny when you have a different jumping off point, right? I sometimes like to remind myself of times when I needed more courage in order to take the first steps. When you get to the next level, it's still courage that you need, but it's a different level.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, it is. It's an ongoing, our ability to take those next steps never leaves the courage behind.
Exactly.
Not at all.
So I love it. Angela says, tears turning to joy and laughter, but then feeling the fear again. Maybe we need to anchor the joy more deeply.
Oh, I love that. Anchor the joy more deeply, right? Because the fear will continue to creep in.
Yes.
The fear is, and if we can recognize what that fear is, if we know what the fear is aligned to, then we can address the fear differently than if it's just this fear that we have and we don't figure out where it's coming from.
Exactly. One of the reasons why I think this song works perfectly for this topic is that the song, and if you go back and listen to the way I do the cover, it's a little more like Tina Turner's version. And it just has this groove that is moving you, right? And it's, rolling, rolling on the river. And it to me, it's got this movement in it. And it's a big change this person has made in their life, but it's movement and action and feeling that momentum, taking the step and allowing the momentum to keep you going through it.
Right. Right. And you know what? I'm all about the metaphor. I love metaphors. It's one of the ways that I learn things. It's one of the ways that I have aha moments. And for me, the rolling along and the keep on rolling and the way that you bring that into the song, it builds up these sensations in our body. And one of the things that we need to really get good at is understanding what the sensations in our body are telling us. And when we have fear, we have various sensations that come up, whether that's a racing heart or, all of a sudden your mouth gets dry or your throat like locks up. Those kinds of sensations, we can allow them to flow through us like the river. So rolling along in the river, we can allow the sensations to roll through us as well and step out of the fear and into, whatever it is. And whether it's going to give us joy or excitement or the adrenaline rush or the long-term thing that we're searching for. So yeah, I love the metaphor of the river in the song and the way that you bring it in.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah. I love that. And it's actually kind of funny because I always start the song nice and slow, just like Tina Turner does in her version. But I love that for many reasons. It, in the cover song that I did, you'll see that I'm just banging on my acoustic guitar to give some kick drum essence. And the point is that when we start and we make a change, we have to listen and allow that action to start to take hold. And then you just let the song just take you there. You just roll in on the river and you're just going and you're moving and grooving. And I love the connection with water and that idea, letting it flow.
Letting it flow right through you. Absolutely. Absolutely. And Mary Beth said, life is a never ending journey of courage. It is. And really understanding ourselves really at a deep level so that we can step into it is such a beautiful place to be. Such a beautiful
place. It really is. Mm-hmm. I like that, Mary. Yeah. Life is a never ending journey of courage. It really is. And big or small, it doesn't matter. I think that it's easy for me, like I'll sometimes compare something that I've done that is, was a much bigger step in my life or something. And I really try hard to be grateful for the small ones too, because they all require some kind of courage and they're all useful in their own way. And right. So It doesn't matter what thing you're trying to keep going through. You know, there's no reason or point to compare yourself as you're going through it. Courage is courage. It could be something as little as the courage to call a friend you haven't called in a while,
Right.
to making a large career change. But they're all super important. And I, yeah, the only way to keep going then is to practice those little things. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, there are some other emotions that come into the idea of taking a step that is different, that requires courage. And one of those is, you know, anxiety that's aligned to future thinking. So, you know, how do we normally see the outcome? We have this thing called the negativity bias, and we are very wired to focus on the negative of the outcome. And you have the opportunity to shift your negativity bias by reframing and rewriting that story. So if you are used to seeing the negative outcome, which would get in the way of taking that courageous step, take a second and rewrite and reframe the outcome into a positive outcome. And it will allow you to set aside this negativity bias, and see things as they will likely happen, the positive side of that. And it'll give that courage more life.
Excuse me, I have Rhodey who's trying to get in
on that Rhodey?
On the discussion.
Yes, that's good. Rhodey, I heard some noise, and I was actually, I wondered if Rhodey was close by.
Yes, she is very excited.
So cute. So you know what, Kelsey, there's something else that goes along with this that's in the lyrics that I absolutely love. And I never lost 1 minute of sleeping worrying about the way things might have been. Never lost 1 minute of sleeping worrying about the way things might have been. And I don't know about you, and I probably many people with us, how many times do we lose sleep worrying, right? About what could have been or what might be. What could have been in the past, what might be in the future, and it takes out the present moment.
You are no longer present. Exactly. When you think of those two things. Either one.
At all. No. And that makes it really hard to be courageous when you move out of the present moment. We forget that living in the present moment is really the goal. And that allows us to be more courageous.
And you can't really be rolling on the river if you're worried about what the city looked like behind you.
No, right.
You're not enjoying the river. You're not enjoying the boat ride.
Right. You're not letting it all just flow. Exactly. So exactly. I love that inside of the song. Just, we have to remember not to worry about what was and wonder what could be and what if we just get courageous and take the action.
Exactly. There's another thing too that so as they were saying, if you come down to the river, I bet you're going to find some people who live, and you don't have to worry if you got no money. People on the river are happy to give. And this metaphor of this idea of the river and allowing things to flow through us, I connect those lyrics now with when you keep going and move through something, you're going to find the tribe for you. Mm-hmm. And it's faith and belief that if you keep rolling through the river, bet you're going to find some people who live. You don't have to worry if you got no money. People on the river are happy to give.
Yes.
Stepping away from a life that you didn't want, didn't need, wasn't serving you, rolling on the river, you will find, it's just having the faith. Now, having the faith, well, we'll stay there because there's another thing with that I'd like to go on with being present. But yeah, we've talked about that before on these podcasts about having the faith.
Yeah. And you
Rhodey keeps moving. Yes. Come on, honey. We've done this so 4 times now.
She's like, Mama.
There she is. She wants to say hi to everybody.
Hi, Rhodey. That's adorable.
All right.
I love her. Well, yeah, it's a reminder that we're just really never alone. And sometimes, the one thing that we have to do, we have to remember that in the present moment, what we're trying to step through and be courageous around is really it's us. is for our own selves. And sometimes peer pressure, sometimes, other people's ideas and thoughts get in our way, they get in our way. But you're never alone. And like you said, you'll find your tribe. They're there waiting for you when you step out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now, I think having faith that everything will turn out okay is very different and allows you still to live in the present than to be worrying about the future, right? So that's something, because sometimes if I catch myself thinking of the future, I'm like, am I in the present? But I
Right.
think having faith is different than worrying about the future.
It is. Absolutely. Right. For sure. I mean, I don't remember exactly the quote, but there is a quote out there about setting the worry aside and letting faith really be in control. Because if you have faith, then you really realize that you're not in control. And so nothing else can be in front of you but that faith in the present moment. And the worry can go away.
I love that.
Angela just put up a quote from Sister Mary Carita Kent. Love the moment, and the energy of that moment will spread beyond all boundaries. Love the moment, and the energy of that moment will spread beyond boundaries.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
What we put energy into is what we get the most out of, right? And so this rolling on the river and letting it flow, to me, that doesn't sound like a lot of energy that you're putting on any worry or anything like that. But you've made a large change and you're moving. We have another. Do you want me just to hold you, Rhodey?
She must be feeling this. There's something about
she's
conversation
really feeling
and
it today. Yeah. Come on, sweetie.
So,
Charlotte just messaged as well.
I think that was Charlotte.
Courage as artwork. Yeah. Artwork of self finding more clay. I think of courage as artwork of self finding more clay or courage. Each time lets us grow. I like that. It's building upon itself. It's building upon itself.
It is. Yeah. And it's building that muscle.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's building that muscle. So I love that.
I love it. So I guess for like goals for this week, for me is something that I always like to set intentions of when we have like topics and then things I'm going to try to include in my life. And so one of the biggest one for me and kind of my theme of 2021 is getting out of my own way. And so for me this week, really going back and reminding myself of times when I had courage and understanding the steps I'm taking now are different. The problems are there. Like we will continually have things we have to keep going through, right? That doesn't stop. But the reason it doesn't stop is because we're continually growing and we have new things, new rivers we need to get across, new things we need to allow to flow through us as we grow. And so one thing that I'm trying to do and being intentional about is stepping into and pulling up, like Charlotte calls it, the clay of the artist, but reminding myself that I have things that I'm standing on top of, that I have pieces of my life where I was courageous, and just kind of allowing myself to step up because of them, right? Instead of looking at it as a separate, like, piece of clay over in the corner, like, oh no, now I'm standing on top of all of the pieces, all of the times I was courageous. So, like in particular, I have some goals with my original music that I'd like to do. And what's funny is I told the story when I started about how to even think that you can make a living as a musician sounded crazy. And now I'm in a place where I'm trying to not just make a living playing cover tunes, which is nominally easier than just original music. And so now I'm looking at this and I'm like, well, I've been courageous before. This is just a new problem. It's just a new problem. And I'm going to use skills I've already done and just hone this skill of being courageous.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, every step you take is taking you further down the path, and you're doing it, right? You're doing it. I love the idea of building the foundation, or you're stepping on top of the foundation instead of looking at it on the side like, oh, that was then and this is now. You look at it as, that is my foundation, and that is how I'm going to take the next step, because I know I can, because I know I did. Right?
I like that. I know I can because I know I did. I know I can because I know I did.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes. I think I hope other people kind of like that, because that really resonates with me, that I know, I know I can because I know I did. It might have been something different, but the same level of concern and unknown was there. It's just it's a different problem. Yeah, I love that.
Right. I also had someone tell me one day, it wasn't that, it's not a matter of feeling worthy to take the next step. Like, am I really worthy of doing all the things that I see in front of me? And I know we won't have the vision if we can't execute it on it. That is one thing I know for sure, that we aren't given these visions to execute, where it requires us to be as courageous as possible if we're not able to. But it's about being willing. How willing am I to step over the hump, out of my comfort zone, over the hump of the fear, onto the next thing? And that willingness is tricky.
I love that. I love that. And that is something that's missing in this song. There's definitely, the song starts when they left a good job in the city. And so, yeah, that would be the step before actually making the decision. Like, I love that, being willing to then enter in, to keep going, keep on rolling.
That's right.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. Well, thank you so much, Jo, for this great conversation about courage, keeping going. I'm very excited about what we're doing here, and we started to work on something that I had been very interested about doing. One of our viewers had asked me to maybe have something printed out with lyrics, and then in good old, this is what I do. I take one idea and I run with it, and I want to do a worksheet. So I brought it to Jo, and then we worked on it together. And something we're working on is essentially having worksheets. They're just like 2 pages where we have the lyrics of the song we're talking about, room for you to write things that relate to you and what you're pulling out of the lyrics as we're talking about it. And then a way for you to analyze things in your life. I use the word analyze. I'm a scientist, but just to reflect on things in your life. And then think about how times when maybe you have a situation where it relates to the topic, and then another situation maybe where you didn't, there were ways that you would have liked to have done it differently after you listened in with this or reflected on it. And then there's another part at the bottom of the worksheet, which would allow you to, the next week, kind of reflect on how you did with those thought processes to help you keep accountable for when we make small changes. It's nice to keep accountable. And so we're working on these worksheets that, and I don't know if we want to call it a worksheet or more of a journal.
Yeah, I love the word journal. You know me and my journals, right? And it really can be a journal. And it can be, a journal that moves you towards living in harmony. And, Kelsey, you are so good at the words that mix in with the music aspect of what we do. And I'm really excited for people to see these worksheets. And
it was so much fun. We were talking
together of the journal. I know.
The Journal of Harmony. And then like at the bottom, there's like the accountability part that asks if you're staying in tune.
Right.
How in tune are you staying? Because if we start to get out of tune, then lots of other things kind of get affected. And then I definitely put in some music terms that make it fun, because that's what life should be anyway. The whole thing is, this is extra. We're just trying to expand, just like Angela was talking about, that quote, love the moment and the energy of the moment will spread beyond all boundaries. And that's really what we do every Friday. We're just putting energy into something we care about, which is each of ourselves, right? And just putting energy into trying to have more love for ourselves and love around the people that we care about. And then it grows, right?
The ripple effect.
Yeah. So we're working on that. We're very excited about that. So stay tuned. Yes.
Oh, yes. I think, I know Lisa said she was on the road before, so she took a pit stop. I'm really excited. I suspect that, people will have something of a surprise in the next few weeks. So
yes. So stay tuned, and we'll let you know when that comes out. And we will see you next week. Next week will be an original song. So I'm very excited of sharing the lyrics for that. And so stay tuned for that.
Yes. I think we're complete. Kelsey, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
It flew by.
Thank you, everyone.
Love it.
Mary, happy birthday, Mary. Lisa, Angela, Charlotte, thank you so much, everyone. I really enjoy these.
Me too. Me too. Thanks, you guys. Happy birthday, Mary Bethy.
Happy birthday.